to work out the profit for the year that's attributable to the NCI. So we're going to have to work out the profit for the year that is attributable to the NCI. So we're continuing on from the question of Sun Yat Sen, and this would be best presented really after the profit and loss account and OCI itself. So I indicated when we did the question that the profit for the year was not a number that you would necessarily calculate per se because it's so complicated. So I indicated it with 2 crosses, and then we had total comprehensive income, which we can indicate with 3 crosses, and that's then consistent with the symbols that we used before the break. Now, when you're looking at the profit attributable to the NCI for the year, we've got 2 subsidiaries. So the first subsidiary is YAT. So we would want to take here the NCI percentage in the subsidiary's profit after tax. Now, I've been out for lunch. 20%. What is YAT's profit? Oh, ouch, 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 ouch. YAT hasn't got a profit. YAT has got a loss. So you would take 20% of 700, and that would therefore give you a figure of 140. Now, to be blunt with you, if that is all that you do, that is okay. It's a start. But strictly speaking, there are certain expenses which may have an impact on that profit. If you remember the question, we were, as consolidation adjustments, this is the figure from the raw data. And there may be expenses that we have charged as a consolidation exercise that will affect the NCI. And I can think of 3. One begins with D, one begins with I, and one begins with P. What additional consolidation expenses do we have that might begin with D? Depreciation. So if you've made a we did make a depreciation adjustment. We did make a depreciation adjustment. So you've got here the depreciation adjustment. And this we worked out in working 2. How much was the depreciation for YAT? How much was the depreciation for YAT? 2,000. So we've got the depreciation adjustment there of 400. What does I stand for? What additional expense might we have? Impairment. So we might have an impairment loss. Now you've got to be a little bit careful with this impairment loss because it would only be applicable if the impairment loss was on full goodwill. Because only when you have an impairment loss on full goodwill are you then going to have an element that you allocate to the NCI. Did we have an impairment loss? Yes, we did. Was it NCI fair value? Yes, it was. And the impairment loss was 30% of something. Impairment loss was 18? Yeah, so 30% of, 20% of 18. Is it an 80% sum? Yes, it is an 80% sum. So it's 20% of 18, and that is 3,600. Now, P doesn't exist. Well, it doesn't exist in this particular question. So P would stand for provision for unrealized profit. Yeah? So if you have a provision for unrealized profit, but for it to be affecting the NCI, the sub would have to be the same. Now, at this moment in time, I'm just pausing for a second. What everybody should get is 20% of 700 is 140. Yeah? What I would insist that everybody do is to take the NCI in the profit per the question and have 140. If anyone can remember the depreciation or the impairment or the provision for unrealized profit, that's almost a bonus mark. But the majority of students seem to not do anything on this area. Now we've only done it for one sub, so that is YAT. We've only done it for one sub. We've now got to do it for the second sub. And the second sub is SEN, And again, I want the NCI percentage in the profit after tax. Now for Sen, it was a 75% sub, so this is 25%. 25% of what? 25% of 57,660. Correct. That figure of 57,660 is from the virgin question, yeah? Is from the raw data, and all that raw data is in dinars, and because that is in dinars, we need to translate, and we are translating the profit. So we translate the profit at the average. The average was 2.7. So 25% of 57,660 divided by 2.7, and that gives me, that's a horrible number. Let me do that again, just in case I made a silly mistake. 25% of 57,660 divided by 2.7. Yeah, it was never going to be a round number, was it? But it's 5339, and it's a positive. It's a profit. Now, when I think of dip, yeah, there was depreciation, wasn't there? There was depreciation. Thank you for reminding me. There was depreciation. And the depreciation would be 25%. Now, can we jump to the dollar number? Can we jump to the dollar number rather than jump to the dinar number and then translate it again? Was it not 2222222? Yeah? So was it not 222? So 25% of 2222. Absolutely essential that you're leaving an audit trail, because it's not going to be right, you know, but you're showing willing. There's no impairment loss in the second sub, there's no unrealised profit. So let me do a subtotal there. So what have I got? 5339, 5339. Oh, it's a lot of minuses, isn't it? Yeah, 5339. Yeah, minus 556, minus 3,600, minus 400, minus 140. So we end up with a pathetic figure of 643. Don't rule it off. Don't rule it off. This is the profit for the year. This is the profit for the year that is attributable to the NCI. So back I go, back I go, back I go. This figure here is 643. Yeah? So I've got my profit for the year, whatever that figure is, it doesn't matter to me. And then my attributable to parent will then just be the balance. So my profit for the year attributable to the NCI is 643. If the profit for the year is attributable to the NCI, that will form part of the total comprehensive income. So that is the profit attributable to the NCI. I now need to add on the other comprehensive income attributable to the NCI. So I need to have the other comprehensive income oh dear. So my profit for the year, I should turn the mic off, shouldn't I? Okay, so I've now got to work out the figures that are in the OCI, and of the figures that are in the OCI, how much of these are attributable to the non-controlling interest. And my starter for 10 will be to look at the information in the question. And if I am YAT, I can see that so far as YAT is concerned, there is an NCI percentage in its other comprehensive income. Because YAT has got other comprehensive income of 2,000. And the NCI in YAT are deserving of their share of that number. And it's an 80% subsidiary, so YAT's NCI is 20%, so therefore there will also be a contribution of 400. Now when I look at SEN, in the question, SEN doesn't have any other comprehensive income. Rubbish. Can you tell me what we put in other comprehensive income that related to SEN? What SEN is a foreign sub. Because SEN is a foreign sub, what do we put into other comprehensive income? The exchange difference. So some of that will belong to the NCI. So far as here we have SEN, as far as here we have here SEN, and this is going to be the NCI percentage in the exchange difference. Now, it's there in respect of the net assets. I can't remember how much the exchange loss was on the net assets. And 19,913 on the net assets. So 25% of that 19,913 is 4,978. Now, you would have it on the goodwill if it was full goodwill, but it is not full goodwill because, we had goodwill as a proportional basis. So the NCI has no share in the exchange loss on the goodwill because NCI was calculated as a proportional basis. So this gives me the total comprehensive income. This gives me total comprehensive income that is attributable to the NCI. I have a positive 643, I have a positive 400, I have a negative 4978, and this gives me here negative 3935. So the total comprehensive income attributable to the NCI is negative 3935.